Welcome to the Mystery History Podcast. I'm Allison.
I'm Jordan.
And this is episode 3, which is the Night Stalker. So before we get into the Night Stalker, we wanted to go over a few things and give some shout outs. So shouting out for voting on the episode, we gave you guys a choice and all of you folks voted. So on Facebook, thank you to Amanda, Jess, Lindsay, Evan, Martin, Ashley, Holly, and Angie. And on Instagram, thank you for voting to Kyle, Tsunami Warrior, and Alex and Yeti. Then we also had some shout outs for people sharing our posts. On Facebook, thanks to Angie, Josh, and Michelle. And on Instagram, thank you to Fancy62629. So we really appreciate you guys sharing, voting, and making our page interactive, because that's really what we want.
Yep.
So from the last time we recorded, we had 185 downloads in the US, Mexico, Australia, the UK, Belgium, Ireland, and Indonesia.
Pretty wild.
That is crazy.
7 countries.
So last week, we only had one from Poland, and we thought we were international.
Yeah.
Well, now, shoot, we're way international.
Super.
So thank you all for listening. We have a new website, and George can talk more about that. It's mysteryhistorypodcast.com. It has all of our episodes, listening platforms, merch, and soon-to-be blogs.
Yep. We have merch on there. We just put on there. It's there's sweatshirts, t-shirts, 3/4 sleeves, tanks, phone cases. There's some pillows on there.
Decorative.
Believe it or not. Yep. Yeah.
Decorative.
All kinds of stuff on there.
There's also stickers and neck gaiters, which are like buffs, like on Survivor.
Yeah, you can use them as a face mask. That's the picture that's on there.
Yeah,
so.
They're pretty sweet. I think I'm going to get one of those. So you can shoot us an email at mysteryhistorypod@gmail.com. We're available on Facebook and Instagram at Mystery History Podcast, and on Twitter at Mystery Histories with an S on the end. We switched from Podbean to Anchor.
Yep.
So we're now on Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher, and anywhere you get your podcasts. If you go to our website at mysteryhistorypodcast.com, it'll give you a link to all those episodes. So you don't have to, you can search for whatever platform works best for you.
Yeah, and something we'd like to get into too is with Anchor, there's a link on the website where you can send us voice messages.
Yeah.
So we can play them on here and respond to them in real time, which is pretty neat.
That is pretty cool. So you could be featured on one of our shows. So if you have a comment or, a suggestion for a future episode, just send us a voice message and we might play it on the show. So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
So the last thing of our racket here that I wanted to talk about is our dear friends, my dear friends Fallon and Michelle. They have a podcast called Dead Academy Podcast, and they walk you through true crime, serial killers, urban legends, and creepy paranormal encounters. All things dead all week long. They just hit their 50th episode, so that's pretty cool. One day we will hopefully be at 50 episodes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it was on the haunted forests of the world. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Dead Academy Podcast, and their episodes are available on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. So I highly suggest you go give them a listen.
Graphic, so.
Pretty graphic. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that. So I will give it to Jord to take it away.
All right, so we're going to start with his birth, like you do.
Like you do.
He was born February 29th, 1960 in El Paso, Texas. He was the youngest of Julian and Mercedes' 5 children. His mother worked in a boot factory where she was exposed to chemical fumes when she was pregnant with him. All of his siblings had birth defects ranging from respiratory difficulty to bone deformities. At age 2, a dresser fell on Richard's head, causing a large forehead laceration. And at age 5, he was knocked unconscious from a swing and started experiencing epileptic seizures.
As an adolescent, Ramirez was heavily influenced by his older cousin Miguel. He had recently returned from fighting in the Vietnam War, so you can assume how screwed up in the brain he was.
Yeah.
They two smoked pot together, and Miguel liked to tell Ramirez about the torture and mutilation he'd inflicted on several Vietnamese women, corroborating these stories with photographic evidence. At age 13, Ramirez witnessed his cousin murder his first wife.
Yeah.
Something else to note in here that I saw is that Miguel took a picture with one of the women that he had decapitated.
Oh, in Vietnam?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
And showed Richard. So at age 13, that's pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
there's a bunch of instances of pictures like that. They said there's multiple very graphic images from Vietnam. So that's...
Yeah. So Ramirez was present on May 4th, 1973, when his cousin Mike fatally shot his wife Jessie. He shot her in the face with a .38 caliber revolver during a domestic argument. After the shooting, Ramirez became sullen and withdrawn from his family and peers. Later that year, he moved in with his older sister Ruth and her husband Roberto, who was an obsessive peeping Tom. He took Richie, they called him Richie, along on his peeping Tom adventures. Ramirez was also beginning to use LSD and cultivated an interest in Satanism. Mike was found not guilty of Jesse's murder by the reason of insanity and was released in 1977 after 4 years of incarceration at the Texas State Mental Hospital.
That's crazy.
Yeah. This is his quote about this episode that occurred. He said, "When I was 11, I had an episode in my life. I saw my cousin shoot his wife. It wasn't traumatic, but the shock value. I went back into the apartment to collect some things with my dad because my cousin was in jail. The bed was all bloody. It was there where she had landed after the bullet. She got a .38 to the face. At the same time, it was very, the stillness of the room, the eeriness, We had to open the windows to ventilate the room, and it was something. It was death. I had known the woman. I had known her very well. I went into the living room and saw her purse. I looked through her purse, saw her ID cards and her things. It was a strange feeling. That was the first time I ever ran across death. Ever since, I was intrigued." So you've got this traumatic life event that happened whenever he was 11, where he saw his, aunt get shot in the face by her husband.
Yeah.
And then now he's living with Roberto, who's a peeping Tom.
And they said all this was because he wanted to be away from his father.
Yeah,
because his father was
so
abusive. Yep.
Yeah, and something to note too, earlier in his life, his father was so abusive that he actually would sleep in cemeteries.
Oh, wow. I didn't read that.
So I love Zach Baggins.
Oh, boy.
Douche Baggins.
Here we go.
And they did a episode on the DeSoto Hotel in Concordia Cemetery in El Paso, Texas. And supposedly that was the cemetery where he would sleep at night. Is the Concordia Cemetery.
Wow, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
As an adolescent, he began to meld his burgeoning sexual fantasies with violence, including forced bondage and rape while he was still in school. He took a job at a Holiday Inn where he used a pass key to rob sleeping patrons. His employment ended abruptly after a hotel guest returned to his room to find Ramirez attempting to rape his wife. Although the husband beat Ramirez senseless at the scene, criminal charges were dropped when the couple who lived out of state declined to return to testify against him.
Yeah, the only reason why is because they were out of town and they didn't want to have to come back.
Yeah, that's...
So all of this could have been avoided if, he wouldn't have got the book thrown at him at that age, but maybe it would have stopped him from...
Steered him straight a little bit.
Yeah, doing all this horrible shit we're about to talk about.
Yeah. He dropped out of school in the 9th grade. He was arrested for the first time in 1977 for marijuana possession. He moved to California when he was 22, progressing to cocaine addiction and burglary, and cultivating an interest in Satanism. He was arrested twice in the Los Angeles area for auto theft in 1981 and again in 1984, and he noticeably began to neglect his personal hygiene.
Yeah. He was rough looking.
Yeah, like I said, he learned about Satanism in jail, and here's a quote that he had about Satanism. It was about 1980. I was hustling on the streets. I landed in jail for a month or two for petty theft. I met up with this guy who's a Satan worshiper. For those 2 months, I was with him. Then I got out of jail, but I didn't mind it. I remembered everything he said, which basically was why worship the good guy when the things you do aren't so good. Somehow it just made sense to me to worship something that would protect you and what you were doing.
Yeah.
Pretty dark stuff.
Pretty dark. I don't know. We're going to get into more about his Satanism. So now we're going to talk about the murders.
You want to start or you want me to start?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start this.
This is going to be, prepare yourselves, because this is going to get...
I tell you, doing research on this, it's hard on your soul.
Yeah. I was up late, it was like 1 a.m., and I was reading about all this stuff, and I was like, oh my goodness, This is awful.
Mei Ling. On April 10th, 1984, Ramirez murdered 9-year-old Mei Ling in the basement of a hotel where he was living in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco. He raped and beat the girl before stabbing her to death and hung her body on a pipe. This, Ramirez's first known killing, was not initially identified as being connected to the subsequent crime spree. In 2009, Ramirez's DNA was matched to a sample obtained at this scene. In 2016, officials disclosed evidence of a second suspect, identified through DNA sample retrieved from the scene, who is believed to have been present at Ling's murder. Authorities have not publicly identified the suspect, described as being a juvenile at the time, and have not brought charges due to the lack of evidence. So you think it could be?
I would think it's him.
Well, I mean, I know that it's him,
but
the second person, you think it's the uncle, the peeping Tom?
No, I don't think he went to California with him.
Yeah, that's true.
It might have just been somebody in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Just had their DNA there.
Ugh.
It's crazy, though. I just put together that he says he was arrested in Los Angeles for auto theft, and he got out in 1984. Mm-hmm. And this is April of 1984. He started the killing spree. He just couldn't do anything good.
Right.
Terrible. The second victim is Jenny Vincow. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. On June 28th, 1984, 79-year-old Jenny Vincow was found brutally murdered in her apartment in Glassell Park, Los Angeles. She had been stabbed repeatedly while asleep in her bed, and her throat slashed so deeply she was nearly decapitated. Ugh. Ramirez's fingerprint was found on a mesh screen when he removed to gain access through an open window. Yeah, so something to note is that this was a really sweltering time in LA. Like the heat. The heat index was through the roof. It was like the highest recorded temperature in the last 100 years. So a lot of these people were hot and slept with their windows open. So this gave him, tons of opportunities for these poor people that were just hot. Just had to get through a screen. To have, open windows that he could just climb on through. Ugh, it's awful. Marla Hernandez. Maria.
I'm sorry. What did I say? Marla? Maria. Excuse me. Maria Hernandez. On March 17th, 1985, Ramirez attacked 22-year-old Maria Hernandez outside her home in Rosemead, California, shooting her in the face with a .22 caliber handgun after she pulled into her garage. She survived when the bullet ricocheted off her keys. Wow. She held in her hands that she lifted up to try to protect herself.
That's insane.
That is insane. Inside the house was her roommate, Dali Yoshi Akazaki, who was 34, who heard the gunshot and ducked behind the counter when she saw Ramirez enter the kitchen. When she raised her head, he shot her once in the forehead, killing her.
Wow.
Terrible.
Yeah. All right. The next one is Veronica Yu. Within an hour of the Rosemead home invasion, Ramirez pulled a 30-year-old Veronica Yu out of her car in Monterey Park, California. He shot her twice with a .22 caliber handgun and fled. She was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital. The two murders and attempted third in a single day attracted extensive coverage from news media, who dubbed the curly-haired attacker with bulging eyes and wide-spaced, rotting teeth the walk-in killer and the valley intruder.
Vincent Charles Zazzara and Maxine Lavina Zazzara. Let me just notate, we are probably butchering those names, and I apologize.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
They're hard. On March 27th, 1985, Ramirez entered a home that had been burglarized a year earlier in Whittier, California, at approximately 2 a.m. and killed the sleeping Vincent Charles Zazzara, age 64, with a gunshot to his head from a .22 caliber handgun. Zazzara's wife, Maxine, age 44, was awakened by the gunshot, and Ramirez beat her and bound her hands while demanding to know where her valuables were. While he ransacked the room, Maxine escaped her bonds and retrieved a shotgun from under the bed, which was not loaded. So I guess what had happened here is that they kept guns in the house. They had one under the bed that was always loaded, but their grandchildren had come the week prior.
Wow.
And the husband would go through and remove all of the bullets,
Right.
so just in case one of the kids got a hold of it.
Yeah.
And Maxine did not know that. So she thought she was grabbing a shotgun that was fully loaded. So she tried to shoot him, and it didn't work because there were no bullets. The infuriated Ramirez shot her 3 times with a .22 caliber, then fetched a large carving knife from the kitchen. He mutilated her body by stabbing her several times, then gouged out her eyes and placed them in a jewelry box, which he left with.
Ugh.
The autopsy determined that the mutilations were post-mortem. Thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, really? Ramirez left footprints from a pair of Avaya sneakers in the flower beds, which the police photographed and cast. This was virtually the only evidence that the police had at the time. Bullets found at the scene were matched to those found at previous attacks, and the police realized a serial killer was at large. Vincent and Maxine's body were discovered by their son, Peter.
I could not imagine a worse thing in life.
Yeah. Ramirez later said, in a quote, "One time I told this lady to give me all her money, and she said no. So I cut her and pulled her eyes out. I would do someone in and then take a camera and set the timer so I could sit them up next to me and take our picture together." So that's going back to when he was young and his uncle was showing him all that stuff from Vietnam, probably.
Yeah.
That's where he learned that.
It's like a souvenir.
Yeah, that he could keep with him.
That tells you the kind of person he is. That's
No remorse, that's for sure.
No. The next people were Bill and Lillian Doy. On May 14th, 1985, Ramirez returned to Monterey Park and entered the home of Bill Doy, 66, and disabled wife Lillian, 56. Surprising Doy in his bedroom, Ramirez shot him in the face with a .22 semi-automatic pistol as Doy went for his own handgun. After beating the mortally wounded man into unconsciousness, Ramirez entered Lillian's bedroom, bound her with thumb cuffs, then raped her after he ransacked her home for valuables. Bill Doy died of his injuries while at the hospital.
Isn't that sad that she was disabled?
Yeah, that's...
So she probably couldn't move and knew he was coming the whole time and couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's...
Ugh.
This guy just... like, the things he did are just unimagineable to most people.
And where the heck does one get thumb cuffs?
I don't know. That's... Yeah, I've never really read about thumb cuffs.
I Googled them, and they're literally just thumb cuffs.
So they just hold your thumbs together?
Yeah.
Huh.
But if you think about that, you can't really do much if your thumbs are together.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
Huh.
The next one is Maybelle Bell. On the night of May 29th, 1985, Ramirez drove a stolen Mercedes-Benz to Monrovia, California, and stopped at the house of Mabel.
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 I guess that was her nickname.
Yeah.
Mabel.
She was 83, and her sister Florence Nettie Lang, 81. Finding a hammer in the kitchen, he bludgeoned and bound the invalid Lang in her bedroom, then bound and bludgeoned Belle before using an electrical cord to shock her. After raping Lang, he used Belle's lipstick to draw a pentagram on her thigh, as well as on the walls of both bedrooms. They were discovered 2 days later, alive, but comatose. Belle later died of her injuries.
Wow.
And the scariest part about him is there's no MO. Like, he just strikes. He's an opportunist. So he sees a window open and there's no lights and he can get in, he's coming in.
That's the thing that surprised me. I don't know why in my head I thought he only attacked women.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of men in here, and he doesn't discriminate. Like, he'll kill wherever he's at.
I think that most of the time in these instances is since he doesn't know what he's walking into, the men are just in his way.
Right. Yeah, he seems... the two we've read already, he just kills them immediately.
To get him out of the way.
And then he usually does the terrible things.
To the women.
He mutilates the women. He doesn't do that to men, which is strange.
And especially after knowing his background and how mean his father was, I would think that you would have that aggression towards men, not women. But
that would make sense. But I guess those pictures his cousin showed him
messed him up.
Yeah, because he mutilates women like the pictures he saw, which is strange. It's like yeah. I would agree with you though. I would think he would be more aggressive towards men because he could finally beat them up instead of being beat up by them.
And it's never the same. Like with those two women, the one that he shot and it hit her keys and ricocheted, and then he went for the girl in the house.
Yeah, it's weird he didn't try to
rape them or do anything to them.
Well, it's weird he didn't try to kill her, like the one that ricocheted off her keys.
She probably laid down acting like she'd been hit.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I would do.
That's crazy. I've never heard of keys like deflecting a bullet.
Yeah, that's good luck.
Insane.
Yeah.
I guess a 22 isn't that big, but
yeah,
still.
No, it's a little pea shooter.
Yeah.
That's why he's got to go for the head.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Carol Kyle. The next day, Ramirez drove the same car to Burbank, California, and snuck in the home of Carol Kyle, 42. At gunpoint, he bound Kyle and her 11-year-old son with handcuffs. Then he ransacked the house. He released Kyle to direct him to where the family's valuables were. He then sodomized her repeatedly. Ramirez also repeatedly ordered her not to look at him, telling her at one point he would cut her eyes out. He fled the scene after retrieving the child from the closet and binding the two together again with the handcuffs.
That's the only silver lining in this one is that he didn't kill the kid. Mm-hmm. And the mom.
Yeah.
But whenever I was researching and saw the 11-year-old, I'm like, no, please. And that poor boy.
It's weird. He put him in the closet though.
Yeah, maybe just to get him out of the way.
I guess, but weren't they both handcuffed? That's the thing.
He handcuffed them together afterward. He bound them together.
Wow.
So.
That's another thing. Like, it's weird that he doesn't. There's no pattern. Mm-mm. Like, he didn't even kill them or really. I mean.
Oh yeah.
He did something terrible, obviously, but he didn't stab him or anything.
Oh, so that's what happened. So he bound them together. Then he looked all through the house for valuables. Mm-hmm. Then he released Kyle to show him where more family valuables were. And then that's when he sodomized her.
Ugh.
So they weren't together, luckily, bound together.
Sure.
Mary Louise Cannon. On the night of July 2nd, 1985, he drove a stolen Toyota to Arcadia, California, and randomly selected the house of Mary Louise Cannon, 75. After quietly entering the widowed grandmother's home, he found her asleep in her bedroom. He bludgeoned her into unconsciousness with a lamp, then repeatedly stabbed her using a 10-inch butcher knife from her kitchen. She was found dead at the crime scene.
I couldn't imagine doing that to an old lady. I guess I couldn't imagine doing it to anyone.
But they're defenseless.
Yeah, that's so awful. That seems a lot of his victims seem to be older people, but it's weird because it's all by chance. Mm-hmm. So it's strange that there's a bunch of older ones.
Yeah.
The next one is Whitney Bennett. On July 5th, 1985, Ramirez broke into a home in Sierra Madre, California, and bludgeoned 16-year-old Whitney Bennett with a tire iron as she slept in her bedroom. After searching in vain for a knife in the kitchen, Ramirez attempted to strangle the girl with a telephone cord. He was startled to see she had sparks emanate from the cord, and when the victim began to breathe, he fled the house, believing that Jesus Christ intervened and saved her. Bennett survived the savage beating, which required 478 stitches to close the lacerations in her scalp.
That is so many stitches. And I don't know, I didn't see if her parents were in the house or if she was by herself.
It sounds like she was by herself.
I saw pictures of the room, and it was just blood everywhere.
Ugh.
Everywhere.
It's weird that he he's a Satanist, so it's weird that he would think religiously.
Yeah, like Jesus stepped in to save this one just because there were sparks.
I would think that the keys would be more...
Yeah.
Well, he didn't know about that, I guess.
No, he didn't. No.
But afterwards, I'd be like, yeah, that's more religious than this. But thank God he thought that and left her. She survived. I mean, it's awful, but at least she's alive.
Joyce Lucille Nelson. On July 7th, 1985, Ramirez burglarized the home of Joyce Lucille Nelson, 61, in Monterey Park. Finding her asleep on her living room couch, he beat her to death using his fists and kicked her in the head. A shoe print from an Avaya sneaker was left imprinted on her face.
Wow.
After cruising 2 other neighborhoods, he returned to Monterey Park and chose the home of Sophia Dickman, 63. Ramirez assaulted and handcuffed Dickman at gunpoint, attempted to rape her, and stole her jewelry. When she swore to him that he had taken everything of value, he told her to swear on Satan.
Wow.
To kick somebody so hard, there's an imprint of your shoe on their chest.
On her face?
Or on her face. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, her face.
Yeah, I can imagine the force it would take for that to...
And maybe, you mentioned about them all being older folk. Maybe it was just the developments that he was cruising, Yeah. They all tend to be kind of in one area. So maybe the houses he were hitting was just in, not a retirement community, but just an older neighborhood.
That may be, but he's all over the map. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Like, I would understand if he knew one town, like where all the old people lived, but he's all over California, or Los Angeles area. And it's... Yeah. All right. Layla, and Maxine Needing. On July 20th, 1985, Ramirez purchased a machete before driving a stolen Toyota to Glendale, California. He chose the home of Layla Needing, 66, and her husband, Maxon, 68. He burst into the sleeping couple's bedroom and hacked them with the machete. Then he killed them with shots to the head from a .22 caliber handgun. He further mutilated the bodies with the machete before robbing the house of valuables. After quickly fencing the stolen items from the Needing residence, Ramirez drove to Sun Valley.
So he purchased that machete because he wanted to start cutting people's heads off.
You read that? Mm-hmm. Oh, my God.
And he didn't want to use the gun anymore. He wanted to cut people's heads off. When he bought the machete, he didn't realize that it wasn't sharpened.
Oh, no.
And he went to their house, tried to hack them, and it wasn't sharp enough.
Oh, my gosh. I'd imagine that would still cut you, but it'd be...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't read that. That's terrible. Wow.
Chain wrong... how do you say that?
I don't mean to laugh, but man, that's...
No disrespect to these victims at all, but these last names are tough.
Chainarong
Konavanith?
Yeah, that sounds right.
At approximately 4:15 a.m., he broke into the home of the Konvanith family. He shot the sleeping Chang Rong in the head with a .25 caliber handgun, killing him instantly. Then repeatedly raped some kid Konovith, beat and sodomized her. He bound the couple's terrified 8-year-old son before dragging some kid, that's her name, some kid, around the house to reveal the location of any valuable items, which he stole. During his assault, he demanded that she swear to Satan that she was not hiding any money from him. Another kid,
8 years old,
who was unharmed, thankfully.
Yes, that's the strange thing also. He shows mercy to some people, and other people he doesn't.
And he already murdered how old was she, 9, whenever he was young?
When?
Whenever they thought that it was somebody else, remember with him? Oh, yeah. So he's got it in him to do it.
Yeah, and a 16-year-old, I mean, that's a kid still. Mm-hmm. So it's weird the lines he draws.
Yeah.
All right. Chris and Virginia Peterson. On August 6, 1985, Ramirez drove to Northridge, California, and broke into the home of Chris and Virginia Peterson. He crept into the bedroom, startled Virginia, 27, and shot her in the face with a .25 caliber semi-automatic handgun. He then shot Chris in the temple and attempted to flee. Chris fought back while avoiding being hit by 2 more gunshots during the struggle, before Ramirez managed to escape. The couple survived their injuries.
They're lucky that he chose I don't know why he chose such a small caliber round.
I was wondering that. I think it's because of it's quieter than like a 45 would be. That'd be
it's
like a
a
cannon.
loud bang. Yeah. But that's the reason why half of these people actually survived because he shot him in the temple.
Yeah, I don't know how that she shot the other girl in the face.
Yeah.
I don't know how you survive that.
Unless I could see more in the face if it like hit a cheekbone and ricocheted, but in the temple, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't unless it grazed it somehow. Yeah. But if it's like a direct shot, I don't know how.
Yeah. Sakini and Elias Aboweth.
You keep getting these names, and I got.
Why is this happening?
Peterson.
Why is this happening to me? On August 8th, 1985, Ramirez drove a stolen car to Diamond Bar, California, and chose the home of Sakini Bawaf, 27, and her husband Elias, 31. Sometime after 2:30 a.m., he entered the house and went into the master bedroom. He instantly killed the sleeping Elias with a shot to the head from a .25 caliber handgun. He handcuffed and beat Sakini while forcing her to reveal the location of the family jewelry, and then brutally raped and sodomized her. He repeatedly demanded that she swear on Satan that she would not scream during his assaults. When the couple's 3-year-old son entered the bedroom, Ramirez tied the child up and then continued to rape Sakini.
Wow.
After Ramirez left the home, Sakini untied her son and sent him to the neighbors for help. The only thing we can hope for is that he was too young to remember.
Yep. He probably didn't realize what was happening.
No.
Which is
a blessing.
Thankfully, he wasn't older. Because, man, that's...
Yep.
Whew. All right. After that murder, he left Los Angeles he went to San Francisco because of media coverage.
Mm-hmm. He thought it was just all in Los Angeles.
Right. Yeah. I don't know why he would think that. I guess he's not very smart.
No.
But also, I don't know why he seems to be robbing all these people, and then he can't get like new shoes or a new gun. It's weird that I don't know if he just doesn't connect the dots that the police realize he's using the same gun.
Maybe.
And the sneakers are showing up. You'd think that'd be on the news.
Maybe it was the machete.
He bought the machete?
Like he bought the machete with the stuff that he pawned from the people that he stole. But you'd think too that whenever somebody has stolen something and you let the police know, they let all the pawn shops know to look out for this stuff. So I don't know what was going on. I mean, it was a different time back then. So maybe they didn't have everything they have in place now for that kind of stuff. But
something as simple as just changing shoes.
Yeah.
That's kind of blows my mind that he didn't. But thankfully he didn't because they caught him because of it.
Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry about that. Shocker. All right. While in San Francisco, the first victims were Peter and Barbara Pan, that's an unfortunate name.
Yeah.
Peter Pan.
Peter Pan.
On August 18th, 1985, he entered the home of Peter and Barbara Pan. He shot sleeping Peter 66 in the temple with a .25 caliber handgun. He then beat and sexually assaulted Barbara 62 before shooting her in the head and leaving her for dead. At the crime scene, Ramirez used lipstick to scrawl a pentagram and the phrase "Jack the Knife" on the wall in the bedroom. When it was discovered that the ballistics and shoe print evidence from Los Angeles crime scenes matched the Pan crime scene, San Francisco's then mayor, Dianne Feinstein, divulged the information in a televised press conference. This leak infuriated the detectives in the case, as they knew the killer would be following media coverage, which gave him the opportunity to destroy crucial forensic evidence. Ramirez, who had indeed been watching the press conference, dropped his 11.5 Avias sneakers over the side of the Golden Gate Bridge that night. He remained in the area for a few more days before heading back to Los Angeles. Guess I spoke too soon.
Dun dun dun. We forgot to knock on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was not as dumb as we thought.
Yeah. That is weird. I wonder if she did that before. It sounds like she did that before contacting Los Angeles police.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a dumb move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then at this point, he left San Francisco to Mission Viejo.
Yeah.
In a stolen orange Toyota. James Romero Jr., is the next one here. He arrived at the home of James Romero Jr., who had just returned from a family vacation to Rosita Beach in Mexico. Romero's son, 13-year-old James Romero III, happened to be awake and heard Ramirez's footsteps outside the house. Thinking there was a prowler, James went to wake his parents, and Ramirez fled the scene. James raced outside and noted the color, make, and style of the car, as well as the partial license plate number. Romero contacted the police with this information, believing James had chased away a thief. What a hero.
Yeah, that's wild. All right. Bill Carnes and Inez Erickson. After that encounter, Ramirez broke into the house of Bill Carnes, 30, and his fiancée, Inez Erickson, 29, through the back door. Ramirez entered the sleeping couple's bedroom, awakening Carnes, and he cocked his .25 caliber revolver. He shot Carnes 3 times in the head before turning his attention to Erickson. Ramirez told the terrified woman that he was the Night Stalker and forced her to swear she loved Satan as he beat her with his fists and bound her with neckties from the closet. After stealing what he could find, Ramirez dragged Erickson to another room to rape and sodomize her. He then demanded cash and jewelry and made her swear on Satan there was no more. Before leaving the home, Ramirez told Erickson, "Tell them the Night Stalker was here." Erickson untied herself, went to the neighbor's house to get help for her severely injured fiancé. Surgeons removed the 2 bullets from his head, and he survived from his injuries.
Ooh. And where'd the machete go?
Yeah, he just tried that one time, and then he gave up on it.
So instead of sharpening it and, like, giving it another go, like, this is too much.
It's too much work to
sharpen things.
Yeah. And to stab, it's a lot easier to shoot.
That's true.
Yeah. Also regarding them, Erickson gave a detailed description of the assailant to investigators. Police obtained a cast of Ramirez's footprint from the Romero house. The stolen car was found on August 28th in Wilshire Center, Los Angeles. And police obtained a single fingerprint from the rear view mirror despite Ramirez's careful efforts to wipe the car clean of his prints. The print was positively identified belonging to Ramirez, who was described as a 25-year-old drifter from Texas, with a long rap sheet that included many arrests for traffic and illegal drug violations. Law enforcement officials decided to release to the media a mugshot of Ramirez from December 12, 1984. The Night Stalker finally had a face. At the press conference, it was announced, "We know who you are now, and soon everyone else will. There will be no place you can hide."
Those are fighting words.
That'll get your attention. Yeah. It's pretty badass, actually.
Yeah. Mic drop.
Yeah, know where you can hide.
On August 30th, 1985, Ramirez took a bus to Tucson, Arizona to visit his brother, unaware that he had become the lead story in virtually every major newspaper and television news program across California. After failing to meet his brother, he returned to Los Angeles early on the morning of August 31st. He walked past police officers who were staking out the bus terminal in hopes of catching the killer should he attempt to flee on an outbound bus to a convenience store in East Los Angeles. After noticing a group of elderly Mexican women fearfully identifying him as El Matador, or the killer, Ramirez saw his face on the front pages on the newspaper rack and fled the store in a panic. After running across the Santa Ana freeway, he attempted to carjack a woman but was chased away by bystanders who had pursued him. After hopping over several fences and attempting 2 more carjackings, he was eventually subdued by a group of residents, one of whom who had struck him over the head with a metal bar in the pursuit.
Wow.
The group held Ramirez down and relentlessly beat him until the police arrived and took him into custody.
That's wild.
That is how you want each one of these stories to go.
Yeah. Man, it'd only be better if it was like the victims' families that got him.
Right. They stopped him, and who knows? He could have just, if those people wouldn't identified him and a mob wouldn't have followed him, he could have been in the wind and committed more murders. So
it's pretty awesome.
Kudos to those people, because that is amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. All right. The trial. Jury began selection for his trial on July 22nd, 1988. At his first court appearance, Ramirez raised his hand with a pentagram drawn on it and yelled, "Hail Satan." On August 3rd, 1988, I don't know why that made me laugh.
Hail Satan.
Yeah. Just they'll be like, "All right, guy, you're still going to jail. Like, say whatever you want.
Put your hand down."
Yeah, we see it. On August 3rd, 1988, the Los Angeles Times reported that some jail employees overheard Ramirez planning to shoot the prosecutor with a gun, which Ramirez intended to have smuggled into the courtroom. Consequently, a metal detector was installed outside, and the intensive searches were conducted on people entering.
We don't even know about that life because you can't go into any court building without...
Yeah, that shows the time. That's people are just walking in there and, yeah.
Yep.
On August 14th, the trial was interrupted because one of the jurors, Phyllis Singletary, did not arrive at the courtroom. Later that day, she was found shot to death in her apartment. The jury was terrified, as they could not help but wondering whether Ramirez somehow directed this event from inside his prison cell and whether he could reach each of the other jurors. However, it was ultimately determined that Ramirez was not responsible for Singletary's death, as she was shot to death by her boyfriend, who later committed suicide with the same weapon in a hotel. The alternate juror who replaced Singletary was too frightened to return to her home.
Could you blame her?
Yeah, that's understandable. On September 20th, 1989, Ramirez was convicted of all charges, 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. During the penalty phase of the trial, on November 7th, 1989, he was sentenced to die in a California gas chamber. He stated to reporters after his death sentences, "Big deal. Death always went with the territory. See you in Disneyland."
I'm sure Disneyland did not like that plug.
Yeah, they're like, fuck. You're like, couldn't have said fucking Six Flags. The trial cost $1.8 billion, or $1 million, I'm sorry. $3.71 million in 2019 dollars, which at the time was the most expensive in the history of California until surpassed by O.J. Simpson's murder case in 1994.
So, prison girlfriends.
Oh, shit.
By the time of the trial, Ramirez had fans who were writing him letters and paying him visits. Beginning in 1985, Doreen Loy wrote him nearly 75 letters during his incarceration. In 1988, Ramirez proposed to Loy, and on October 3rd, 1996, they were married in California's San Quentin State Prison. For many years before Ramirez's death, Loy stated that she would commit suicide when Ramirez was executed. However, Loy eventually left him. By some estimates, he would have been in his early 70s before his execution was carried out due to California's lengthy appeals process. So she was probably like, okay, I'm going to marry this dude. He's going to be alive for like 2 years, and then I'm going to be a widow and have all the fame of being the Night Stalker's wife. And then it was like,
10 years later.
Just like, screw this shit, I'm out.
It's just so funny, the switch. She's like, I'll kill you, or I'll kill myself for you.
Right.
And then,
like, just kidding.
like, I don't know.
JK.
I'm tired of this.
And she is not a looker. I just want everybody to know.
Yeah, you were telling me that. I don't need to...
She looks like one of the 65-year-old women that he killed. I mean, so I guess maybe he's into that, but...
Doreen Loy. Let's see what she looks like.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, Doreen. He was in it for the conjugal visits.
Yeah. That's always been fascinating to me. Same thing happens with like a ton of serial killers. They have all these women that want to be their...
Yeah, there's Charles Manson's wife.
Yeah.
She's pretty, too.
She is pretty. That's weird.
Yeah.
I just don't...
Maybe that's a new episode.
Charles Manson?
No.
His wife?
No. Women who marry murderers in prison.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, actually, because it's like... What is going through your head? Like, what's the end game? Like, most of these... All of the serial killers are going to die.
In jail.
Yeah, it's not like they're going to be let out. So there's no, like...
Sometimes they think that they will be. And they'll have this happy life. Or I think a lot of the times it's just the notoriety of being a serial killer's wife.
Yeah,
I don't know why you would want that.
I don't either. That'd be...
A lot of women feel like they can fix men. But if men are already on death row...
Yeah, it's too late.
Yeah, there's no time.
That's so... That always fascinated me.
Yeah.
That was like in the Ted Bundy movie. There's that girl who was like, that's just...
Yeah, all of them find love.
Well, it's not just the people that marry these people, but it's like all the women that are enthralled by like Ted Bundy. That's so strange. I wonder what that's got to be something with your brain. That's weird.
Yeah, you're crazy. is what it is.
That's
insanity.
Ugh.
Speaking of, segue.
Good segue right there.
You want to go over this?
Yeah. So Ramirez had scored a 31 out of 40 on Hare's psychopathy checklist, the PCLR, which makes him a primary psychopath. However, he may have leaned towards sociopathy instead. Ramirez might have also met the criteria of a malignant narcissist, but there isn't any concurrent evidence as of 2020. That suggests that he may have narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, mixed with antisocial traits. Antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, is the dominant disorder in Ramirez's case, and due to the nature of his crimes, he may have had ASPD mixed with sadism and schizoid traits. He may have also suffered from schizophrenia, which was likely made worse by drugs like cocaine, LSD, and PCP. Yeah, that's not doing any favors.
No, just making it worse.
That's not going to help anything.
No. Ramirez, who claimed to be a Satanist, never expressed any remorse for any of his crimes. The judge who upheld Ramirez's 19 death sentences remarked that his deeds exhibited cruelty, callousness, and viciousness beyond any human understanding. Ramirez died of complications secondary to B-cell lymphoma at Marin General Hospital in Greenbar, California on June 7, 2013. He'd also been affected by chronic substance abuse and chronic hepatitis C viral infection. At age 53 years old, he had been on death row for more than 23 years.
That's insane.
I did not think that he was that old. Like, I didn't think he was still alive for that long.
You thought he got killed, you mean?
Yeah, I thought he was dead.
Yeah, that's what I thought, too.
I thought he got killed a long time ago.
That's the same thing with, like, Charles Manson. Like, California, they just hold people.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, let's just hang him up.
That's so much...
Be done with it.
Tax money.
Yeah.
Just to keep somebody alive, just to be killed. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And you give him a life. Obviously, he had a freaking wife.
Right.
So he got a life. He got a long life.
Yeah, it's awful. I don't understand that. People like that just need to be killed. Like, some people just do, like, vehicular manslaughter, per se. Like, it can be an accident. Mm-hmm. But, like, this is, like...
blatant.
Yeah. If you do this kind of stuff, you need to be killed.
Yeah, there's no shadow beyond a doubt that he did it.
Like you said, you can't be fixed.
No.
And
nope. I think the same should go for child molesters, child murderers, animal abusers. We'll just put them all.
That's like in that Instagram video I posted on our Instagram. He basically just said that he was bad. Like, he was just born bad. Mm-hmm. He said it's a wicked world, and in a wicked world, wicked people are born. Yeah. And he just believed himself to be one of those people.
I do believe that it's very nature/nurture. Like, because I know people who have a brother or a sister, and they were raised the exact same way, and they turned out 100% different than somebody who was raised, the same way. So it is in each of us, I guess, which way you choose to be, if it's a choice.
Right. It's just, I don't understand. Because he had 5 or 4 brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. And they're all not killing people.
Well, probably because they have bone deformities and shit.
True. That'll stop you.
Yeah.
But it's just, I just don't, it's so hard to wrap your head around, like, what goes through somebody's mind like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think nothing. Obviously, you're not thinking.
But it's like he keeps doing it. So, I mean, it's like something's pushing him to do that, which is the crazy part. Uh-huh. Because it's like, I don't know.
Compulsion.
And this all happened within, all those murders were within, like, a year of each other.
He did some of them, like, the day after or the same day.
Yeah, he would drive from a murder to another murder.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't understand. It's like you're hungry for it. Mm-hmm. And you just got to feed the hunger, which is insane. But it's like, I don't know. It's just hard to wrap your head around somebody that would do that kind of stuff.
I think sometimes it's good that we can't wrap our head around it.
Yeah, I guess we're not meant to. There's another quote I posted also, and it said, let me see if I find it. But yeah, he's just, I guess it's good we can't wrap our heads around it, because if we could, there'd probably be something wrong with us. Mm-hmm. He said, "You do not understand me. You're not expected to. You're not capable of it. I am beyond your experience."
Which is a little narcissistic. Yeah. Because
that's the least of his problems.
Well, I feel like in that, he thinks that people want to know him. I don't want to know you, Richard Ramirez. Even though we did just do a whole episode on him.
Yeah, we just spent a week.
Where I wanted to know him.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
It's interesting. It's like not like just us, but I mean, a lot of people are fascinated with serial killers. Because, I mean, true crime is like a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I wonder why that is. But it's like, it is because people want to understand them.
Well, it's just like a scary movie. People like scary movies because they like the way that it gives them that heart palpitation, but they know that they're not in any danger.
Right.
Same kind of thing with true crime. While it's terrible, it's not going to happen to you in that exact moment, so you're safe, but you can still see the other side of how bad people can really be.
Yeah. I was reading a thing on scary movies, actually, that your body can't distinguish between, like, a real threat and a movie.
Oh, really?
So whenever you watch a scary movie, your body is going, like, it's releasing the same chemicals as if you were actually about to get killed.
Really?
Or if you're, like, in a scary situation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, your body can't distinguish. So whenever you watch something terrifying, your body is reacting as if you were in that situation, which is super interesting.
That is. Well, and I tell you, so whenever I was younger, I used to love scary movies. Love them, love them, love them. And now that I'm older, I can't handle them. I can't. I don't know if it's because whenever I was younger, I didn't really understand the finality of death.
Right.
Or that this can really happen. But I don't want any part of it.
It might be, because whenever you're like a teenager, you think you're going to live forever. You feel invincible.
And now that I have a child, I can't put her in that situation because I couldn't live. Like, I don't know, just having another piece of your body out there walking around where you can't protect them 100% is terrifying.
That's like that one, The Outsider show on HBO. I sent you to watch it, and I was like, the first scene has a murdered kid in it, and you're like, nope, I'm out.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me. It will ruin my month. Mm-hmm. Legit.
It is funny though. I still like scary movies, but it is, as you get older, it has a different feeling.
Yeah, that this shit really happened. Well, and you see more about the world and about how crazy people are, and it's scary out there.
Yeah.
So, got anything else to add on Mr. Ramirez?
I don't think so. I just think we want to reiterate, we don't mean any, if we laughed at all or anything, we don't mean any disrespect.
It's terrible what he did. I wish we could have killed him instead of him dying from a disease.
Yeah, he got old enough to die of old age, basically, which is awful.
I'm pro death penalty, so we're probably going to get some shade on that.
But in cases like this, I fully agree.
Yeah, because there are some cases out there where it's not, you don't really know who did it, and you kill somebody who's innocent. I get that, but this is blatant.
Yeah, sometimes there's a gray area, but this one's very black and white.
He did it. He deserved to die. He didn't deserve to have a wife. I mean, nobody else is probably going to have her, so I guess he just got her. But I don't know. That was rough.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep it on.
Yep.
All right.
I haven't picked a topic for next week, so we'll most likely put another poll out there.
Yeah, we'll put a poll out there or announce it probably. We like to announce it by Wednesday at least, so then we can start digging in and researching everything before we record. So.
Also on our website, we have at the bottom of the homepage, there's a newsletter you can sign up for. And we will be sending out weekly topics and whenever we drop a new shirt or something like that. So be sure to sign up for that and we'll get you on the mailing list. Yep.
And don't forget to visit that website at mysteryhistorypodcast.com.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys.